Oh, this is the hot seat.
You'll find out.
Okay. Well, I finally got up the nerve to come up here and ask my question. First, I want to say thank you so much. I was introduced to Abraham less than a year ago from two very inspirational people in my life. They happen to be sitting over there.
She's been in a lot of trouble, hasn't she?
I have two questions. My first question is that I had my life planned. Everything was going along just fine. Graduated from college, have a great career, traveled, married, bought a home, had a baby. And at 11:35, 2 years ago, on Christmas Eve, we received a phone call where my husband and I were now required to take care of his 9-year-old child at the time. Being a first-time mom, my child was 4 months. And we were also getting married that April. So it was a very busy time. Since then, I've come to the resolve that she is a blessing in my life. The time that I did not have with my daughter, but I'm raising 2 daughters now, so I was resentful at first for a long time. She comes along with some other issues, but not too big that we can't work them out.
By the time you're 9, your issues are only about this much. When you're born, you have none. By the time you're 9, 10, 11, 12, we're talking about that gap again, aren't we?
Yes. So I'm working very hard, and I'm thankful that I was introduced to Abraham to help her close her gap or not have her gap be so wide because of her history with her mom. But I do find myself at times becoming resentful and angry because of the time and the money and the energy and all the extra expectations that people have put on me with regards to raising, I won't say someone else's child because she is my child also, but raising a little girl that I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm learning with my daughter, who's 2 now, but I have no idea what to do with an 11-year-old.
So you said your life was planned out and then something was dropped in the middle of it, and your question is?
How do I deal with that and still go with the flow? I don't know if I want that flow. I have to tell myself every day it's okay, it's going to be fine, everything will work out, but then something happens and I feel like I don't want to go with that flow.
Well, it's interesting as we listen to you, and of course everyone can relate to what you're saying to some degree, because parenting is not the easiest thing in the world to do. There is always this generation gap that people talk about, but we want to explain to you that it's far more than a generation gap. There is a true vibrational gap between those who are being born now and those who were born at the time you were born, or even those who were born 11 years ago, because each generation, and generation is too far sweeping of a word, but each time new energies come forth from non-physical, they come into what feels like your present time from a different vantage point. It's interesting to watch. The generation gap is the best word that humans use to describe it. So it falls back into what we were talking about earlier about a child at another gathering asking, why are grown-ups so grumpy? Because the children who are coming forth are coming from that pure place of expectation, and that translates into adults that are watching them, that they are just more selfish, they are more self-centered, they expect more things to go their way, where the longer you live, the more those around you teach you that you are not the center of the universe, while Abraham wants you to remember that you are, that everything's not supposed to go your way, while Abraham is wanting you to remember that everything is supposed to go your way. So what happens, really, whether you are raising someone else's child or whether you are raising your own child, whether you are dealing with people that you want to love or whether you are dealing with strangers, one thing that is really helpful to accept right away is that everyone has their own perspective, and it cannot be otherwise. And every single person, no matter who they are, has a perspective that comes from a selfish point of view. And what that means is that you can only see through the eyes of self, and you innately want things to go well for self. And the thing that we're talking about all day, every day, is that you can feel the feeling of self. You can feel it in your belly. You feel it through your emotional center. The feeling of self is that combined energies of what I'm looking at here right now through my physical eyes and how I really feel as a broader perspective. And the combining of those two energies is literally what equals your mood or your attitude. Very often you say, this is not my child. And we say, children do not pick their parents necessarily to be born to. Some of those who are vibrational matches to you, at the very core of that which you are, you meet later in life. In other words, there are a lot of things that you don't know about this coming together, that if you will allow yourself to go with the flow of that, you will find downstream culminations. So here's this little girl. She's been living in less than perfect situations. We've been talking about that already here today. And she's been launching rockets of desire, and she's been contributing to a vibrational escrow. And you've been living life even before you met this man, even long before you knew this little girl, even before you gave birth to your own child, even before your life was all planned out in the way that you think it is from the physical format. You've been launching rockets of desires, and you've created a vibrational escrow too. And the man that you're with has been creating a vibrational escrow too. And don't you find it interesting that down there in all of your vibrational escrows is this common thing that when you move toward it, you rendezvoused for this masterful co-creating experience, you see. Yeah. So what you say to yourself is sort of like, I am going to do this. And the choice is not really whether I'm going to do it or not. The choice is, am I going to resent doing it, or am I going to appreciate doing it? And that is the choice of, am I going to align with Source while I do it, or am I going to rip myself apart from Source while I do it? Okay. Nobody in the world can ask the conditions around them to be so perfect that when you just look at the conditions, you feel good. Those are not the creative choices that you came to make. As a creator, you said, I'll come into the environment and I will mold the energy of my environment through my perspective, through the thoughts that I choose to think. So, you said something really important, and we could feel how easily the words flowed from you. They were carefully chosen words, but they were inspired words when you said, I understand the blessing that this child is. Mm-hmm. And we know that at times you understand the blessing, and sometimes you call it a curse. In other words, it feels like a blessing when you're looking downstream. It feels like something far from a blessing when you're looking upstream. But the thing that the two of you said that you would help each other to remember is this thing that we talk about a lot, which is unconditional love, which is, I'm going to find my connection with Source regardless of the condition that I'm looking at. In other words, I can look at this in a way that tears me apart from who I am, or I can look at this in a way that calls me to dovetail with who I am. And this child is a catalyst that will help you know the difference between whether you're in alignment with Source or whether you're not. When you get it, that it is not this child's job to be perfect in your life, to stay out of your life, or to come into your life. In other words, this child does not have enough power, no matter how powerful this child is, to control the way you feel. This is just a child here to co-create with you, to give you the opportunity of going with the flow or not, but don't lay it on the child if you choose upstream. And as you increasingly are able to choose the thoughts that help you to go with the flow, that blessing that you've been describing will become bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that the two of you will one day announce to each other, we had each other in our sights before either one of us was born into physical bodies.
Thank you.
And so life is just sort of the stream having its way, and then you fighting it, and then the stream having its way, and then you fight it, and then the stream having its way, and then you fight it. And we say, stop fighting the well-being that is your legacy. In other words, this little girl somehow relaxed and knew that life would take care of her because it's supposed to go that way. And in fact, we'll say that to you. You're supposed to love me, is what she wants you to understand. Everything always turns out all right for me. And that's the way we want you all to feel. Everything always turns out all right for you, even if you have to die to win your reward. But you don't have to. Just stop bucking the current. All illness is from bucking the current. All confusion is from bucking the current. Everything that doesn't feel good to you is from an upstream perspective. Every single thing. Did we help you? And is there something more you want?
No, you've helped me tremendously. Thank you so much.
We have enjoyed this interaction more than words can say. For some of you, it may seem that we've been a little slow going, but this has been co-creating at its best. Be easy about all of this. We make far, 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 far too much of all of this. Life is supposed to be good for you and will be if you will just let it be. You have heard from us here today something that we've long been wanting to say to you, and that is that the stream that naturally flows contains everything that you want, and even the slightest little bit of struggle on your part is you working against the natural resources that are there for you. It is necessary that you trust that what's downstream is good for you, and we know it so completely. But we don't expect you to trust our words because words do not teach. So instead, we encourage you to test it just a little bit. Just be a little happier than usual. And turn more often through the day toward those downstream thoughts and feelings. And watch the avalanche of well-being that will present itself to you as soon as today. And with each piece of information that flows into your experience, smile and say, I sensed that you were there. And I turned in the direction of you, and yep, there you are. What else is lurking here for me? And we say, the promise that was set into motion even before your birth is lurking in your vibrational escrow and expanding with every breath you breathe. There is so much love for you here. And for now, we remain eternally incomplete.